I don't know why why we have had this meeting, because I feel like whoever made the decision is a masochist. So given that, I'm going to go through the process of explaining the process that I experienced here. First of all, it's a one-year contract. I kind of looked at it as a one-year contract. And then the community could decide for themselves, the entire community of OUSD could decide for themselves on what board member needs to sit in the seat. This is a process we've never gone through before. I don't even think it's in the history of this school district that we've ever gone through anything like this before. I voted for the process. I thought it was going to be a good process. You start to trust. You put your trust into the process, and then you act on it. I met with a couple of the candidates, Mrs. Yamasaki, which definitely hit big home runs with me. Obviously, with the folks out here, it was a good meeting. I could see all the involvement that she had within the Canyon High. We discussed all the involvement that she had with the Canyon High community. She's obviously the favored person for that community. And I guess one of the stories that struck me the most, which I found very interesting, and was when she talked about being part of the Canyon High School PTA leadership, and how there was kind of a dismal showing, and that she through her efforts and I believe the team that she was on, that PTA grew exponentially. I believe. I mean that was very impressive. So, as you folks, I found a lot of good things and good qualities about Mrs. Yamasaki. Then I met with Mr. Salas. That went very well as well. Spoke with his involvement with his children, and how he had a strong interest in contributing to the community. And this would be he considered this as an opportunity to do that. I spoke with him about his current business background, and then I began to realize the flaws with the process. And it happened as I was discussing as I met with Mrs. Yamasaki and as I met with Mr. Salas. Through the discussions, I realized that this shouldn't have been done. This should have been done publicly. If done publicly, my colleagues and the OUSD community would have seen the evolution of why I would vote for one candidate over another. That's the part that was missing. This process did not allow for that. So based on this process, I made my selection last week. I chose Mr. Salas. I'll have to say, though, after meeting with Mrs. Yamasaki, it was a difficult decision. It may not have seemed like that as I voted, but it was a very difficult decision. I even spoke with someone in your community who's very well entrenched and that afternoon, and spoke about my difficulties with the decision. But I felt Mr. Salas had the edge based on his current business background with budgets and forecasts. That's one of the biggest things that I see sitting on this board is the budgets forecasts, the budgets and the dollars that will be flowing through this district if we pass a bond. And a lot of decisions are going to be made based on affecting the bond over the next year. Things like tax rates and how we're going to be releasing the bond funds and so on and so on. So a lot of numbers issues. Not to say that Mrs. Yamasaki could not have risen to the occasion, but I just felt I needed somebody I felt that I could work with Mr. Salas and we could hit the ground running. So that was a lot of the reasoning behind my decision. But it's the community's choice to have this go to an election. A year from now, there will be an election, and the community will have to have the opportunity to decide then, too, as well. The cost of a special election doesn't make sense and is unfair to the rest of the OUSD community. it's kind of like the last bond election. Certain communities voted it down, which is unfair to those communities that voted for it. Same situation here. Spending money impacting other parts of OUSD. In principle, it's not right. Who loses in all this? Well, the kids don't have a bond facility pass, and they're still going to those dilapidated school sites. And in previous meetings, I have mentioned the fact that I pray every day that during school hours there's not an earthquake, because the communities around us will fare much better than this community in an earthquake. Money going to an election is not being used for educational programs. So of course, the children will lose overall in this. As board members, just so you know, community plays a big part, finance plays a big part, but as a board member, we wear many hats. There's some HR components, there's educational programming, finance, PR, management. Now we're becoming real estate appraisals, getting into that. So there's a lot that goes on with somebody that I would choose, that I have to think about when I choose somebody to work with on this board. I have to make a decision based on, as I said earlier, this meeting should not have ever been called. The subject matter makes us seem too political. We made a decision. We should have moved forward. If community calls for an election, it's their right and decision to make. There's no need for this formal document in any way. If we want to make a statement, I say we just, through consent, produce a press release, but base our press release strictly on the fiscal reasoning. So that's a little bit of my background on this and how I voted, and it was basically just the budget side of things. I find myself working almost I can't say solely, but almost solely on the budget and with the superintendent, and my colleagues are very supportive, and we work together as much as possible, but I would like a little more. I was looking for a little more in the next board member. Thank you.